segment. On the panel with me, well, first of all, I'm Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell, one of your hosts. And on the panel with me, I have Caleb Alexander, who is a New York Times bestseller and a doctoral extraordinaire. And we also have today Eller Winston, who is the co-founder of DIMS Development Society. Okay, so we have some interesting hot topics, and I'm going to put my glasses on because I have my cheat sheet here. The first topic we want to discuss is that assistant principal up at that intermediate school, and that's grades 6 through 8. She was an assistant principal, and she got her right eye knocked out the socket by a child in a behavioral unit. Now, having worked on a campus, I want to say an elementary campus, the behavior unit is interesting. And the strength that these kids can amass when they get angry is really interesting. And as I was sharing with my co-host, that at this particular school that I worked in that behavioral unit, we literally had a padded cell because we had to put kids in there who were starting to throw stuff around, to where we need to put them somewhere to protect the safety of the kids and everybody else surrounding them. So, Caleb, when you heard about this assistant principal right eye getting knocked out, what were your thoughts?
So, my initial thoughts, my real thoughts.
Yeah, this is hot topics.
Couldn't be me, but no, I mean, kids these days are, a lot of the disciplinary issues, they start early, and they start in the home. And so that was my initial reaction is like, what's going on? How did it get to this point? How did the behavioral issues get to this point? And so I know you don't want to create an environment in the classroom that resembles a juvenile or anything, but like you just have to have, you wonder if it's a behavioral unit, how far away are safety officers? You know what I mean? For the safety of the other kids, for the safety of the staff, how far away are those officers? Are they able to respond? How quick are they able to respond? So, I mean, I had a bunch of questions initially, besides that couldn't be me. But no, what do you do though? Because you can't transform that environment, and you want it to be an environment that is conducive to learning. You want it to still be a school type of environment, and so it's a difficult situation. And so, no, but I definitely, I mean, I feel for educators. Educators they're heroes, definitely. They are the front line to just everything, basically everything in society. You know what I mean? And so it's up to them to educate the next generation, educate our future leaders, and to just take up a lot of the slack. So, but no, those are my initial thoughts. It's like, oh my goodness, it's a horrible tragedy, and you feel for everybody involved.
So I'm holding up this particular newspaper up. This is a newspaper that I know that Caleb and we contribute to, as well as our other panelist, Fred Williams. And in this particular article, it's our Black Life Texas newspaper that you can go online to blacklifetexas.com and subscribe, and also be able to go through the newspaper online as well. But in this particular article that I wrote, it dealt with mental health issues. Now, a lot of parents don't want to own up that little Johnny, that little Sarah may have some mental health issues that might be a part of that might have generated because of something that has happened in the home. Now, I'm not supporting what this kid did, but something is going on environmentally, whether or not the parents are not giving him the meds that he needs to be on to control that action. But oftentimes I have found out in my career that there is an environmental issue back at the home or at someone's house where these kids are, this is called spade a spade, they're being assaulted, they're being bullied, they're being something to where this anger builds up, and then they bring it to the school, and then the teachers and the administrators and the counselors are trying to figure out how to work with this kid given their strengths and weaknesses. So my heart goes out to this principal because, again, I have seen a friend of mine who was trying to de-escalate a situation at her school, and now she is disabled with back because of injury to her back. So this is something to where it goes on, and I'm glad that Miss Rogers, who is the assistant principal, is contacting Governor Abbott on making changes in the codes on how to address this issue. What are your thoughts?
I believe they should focus on the teachers and their ability to handle when a student or an individual is going through a mental crisis. First of all, why did the assistant principal have to go in? Where was the school police? And didn't they go through the protocol to handle these kind of situations? I believe their policy that they may have in place, they did not follow for themselves, which indicated her injury. And now we're in this situation of what we need to do next to get the behavioral issues in our children addressed. Let's go and really address the parenting and the parenting skills.
Well, one of the things that I had to do when I was in the classroom, I had a child, a little girl. She had one of her moments. And because I knew about this child, I was giving a heads up before they put her in the classroom. Before they brought that child in the classroom, I went ahead and did something with the class to where I said, if you see this child do this, I want you to quietly sit on the floor and then crawl out the room while I try to, hold her back. And the reason why is because if anything got to flying around the room, I did not want them to get hit. Now, I was putting myself at risk. And I said, I want you to go to Miss So-and-so's classroom, and then Miss So-and-so would see these kids crawling into her room, and she knew immediately to make that phone call. But there's a lot of things going on, and I'm sorry, Mom and Dad, you know who you're sending to school. You know who you're sending to school. And you need to speak up when you know that Johnny had an episode last night. And again, you're right. What type of protocols were in place for this woman to go into the room if this kid has already ransacked the entire room? What I would have done, I would have locked the door with me on the outside the door until the police got in there.
Yes. Proper protocol, yes.
But yeah, because the other kids are already back. No, I mean, I worked at a residential rehab for about 5 years. And we went through a lot of different training, handle with care, safe hands, all that kind of training. And so there are just some instances where
you gotta lock the door.
Or even then, they don't need safe hands, they just need hands.
Fist, knuckle,
Well,
pow, pow.
The thing is that this student was able to throw a chair at this teacher. A couple of chairs at the principal, and she was able to block it. What got her was the wooden hanger.
The hanger. And he actually threw another chair at a principal that the vice principal was able to block that chair. So I think all together was like 3 chairs or something the kid threw before he threw the hanger. And so, but yeah, no, again, where were the safety officers? You know what I mean?
Right.
If there were safety officers.
But if this school specialized in behavioral issues, that should have been the first, and they should have been the first in line.
Yeah, or because a lot of times we have at the rehab we have male responders, who were kind of like larger male responders that are able to respond to those kind of situations and perform handle with care. So in this situation, they had to have training on handle with care
And
to
see
be
what
able to take that kid down.
And what a
Right.
lot of people don't understand is once these kids amass anger,
Mhm.
it is the strength that they have is like none other. I'll give you a case. Again, where I used to be an assistant principal or, was working. I had a student that got upset with his mother in the parking lot. And she allowed him to come into the school and the child stripped butt naked. Okay? Now, we had two situations here, right? First of all, I'm 5'7". This kid was in the 3rd or 4th grade. He was about 5'7", 5'8". So he was already big, right?
Oh, boy.
Plus, his member was wiggling in the wind, right? And so we did not have a blanket. So I went ahead and did the big girl thing, right? I called the police, right? Because I didn't want to touch him with the possibility, because mama's sitting there and I didn't know how nutty she was, with the possibility of his little member touch me, right? And so the police came. We were able to find a coat because we didn't have a blanket. So we were able to get a coat, just kind of hang it around him till the police got there. And the police handcuffed this joker to the ground. Now, they took him to my office, but the strength that these kids have when they get angry is like nothing. It's almost like an exorcism has to occur. An exorcism has to occur to get these kids calmed down. That's how mad they can get. My heart goes out to Miss Rogers, and to any teacher who has to deal with this situation, because it changes your whole perspective on how do you handle these kids.
And this is probably a way out question, but maybe the way in a behavioral unit, maybe some of the procedures may need to be revisited.
Oh, it will.
I know, but just for the safety of other kids, for the safety of staff.
Yeah, they're going to revisit this one because she could possibly sue.
I'm sure she.
And that would be able to reduce that risk as well.
Or maybe a stun gun. Maybe something to be able to.
Water hose or something.
Yeah, something to be able to, to immobilize these kids.
But that's why I said that if he was throwing stuff around the classroom, I would not have entered that classroom. I would have pulled my keys out and locked that door. You got everybody out the room, lock that door, let him just tear up the place. Don't try to do anything, because at that point, you can't do anything. You can't do anything. You're going to get hurt. You will get hurt.
Or in trouble.
Or in trouble, right. And so you just lock the door, contact the safe officers, whoever in charge, and go ahead and let them handle it.
But even once they arrive, they need to be able to hit him with a trank,
a stun gun.
A trank dart or a stun gun. They need to be able to hit him with a stun gun and let him just fall to the floor, and then be able to go in there and safely restrain him. Right. You know what I mean? Some kind of soft safety restraints or something like that. Until where's his riddling? You know what I mean? Where is it at?
So now this case is before the juvenile detention.
Right.
The juvenile detention.
So it's escalated to where
escalated.
If they had the proper mechanisms to restrain him, it would have not left the district.
Right.
And now the kid is facing a juvenile charge. You know what I mean? And so, again, they need to revisit the way they're able to handle behavioral kids. You know what I mean? Whether it's having an adequate number of male staff members who are trained in handle care, or even, like I say, non-lethal restraint methods such as stun guns, trank, or having safety or resource officers in close proximity that are able to respond.
Now, the other issue is this. While this was going on, were the parents available? That's another issue. Oftentimes, the parents are hard to find. So the child was in kiddie prison right now, probably. And And again, my heart and prayer just go out to Miss Rogers. She's going to be blinded in one eye. Okay.
Yeah. Ms. Rogers going to sue the heck out of that school district.
Let's go to our next hot
Then
topic.
they're going to put some policies in place.
Let's go to our next hot topic. Eddie Duran, who was the deputy who shot and killed, what was his name? Roger Fortson in Florida. He was a United States Air Force senior airman. He is out on bond. And you know what the judge said? That, he's not going to be a flight risk. He's not a risk.
Right.
So, it's okay. We're going to put him out on bond.
Right. So that already tells you the judge's attitude toward this case.
Right.
But it's such a major case in Florida that there's no way they're going to find a jury who is not aware of the case, who is not aware of what's going on in the case, who is not listening to the language that's used in the case. As a writer, I understand the importance of language, the importance of choosing certain words to craft a narrative and tell a certain story. And so the words that the judge used were, he can go out on bond. He spent his entire life protecting the community. So the community is quite safe. I'm sure Fortson and his family will disagree with how safe the community is with him out there.
Right.
You know what I mean? But those are the words that the judge, that's the narrative that the judge and the process and the defense is already putting out there. My other problem is when the newspaper was telling the story, the papers are telling us Fortson was awarded an Airman's Medal or Air Medal. So instead of lauding this airman for that medal, the words that they used was, this medal is awarded simply for having flown 20 flights in a combat zone. They diminished his medal.
And what he's done for the
And
country.
they diminished it. You see what I'm saying? So there's a narrative that they're crafting with the words that they're using that the jury is going to be quite aware of. And so we've seen this repeatedly. They do this over and over and over again by diminishing black men, if not outright criminalizing them, while at the same time, the perpetrators who have committed the crime against them, especially law enforcement officers, they laud them for their service, and they make the victim to be the criminal and the law enforcement officer who perpetrated the crime to be the hero for the community. This law enforcement officer, the narrative that they're crafting is when Fortson opened the door, he said, I looked into his eyes and I saw anger and I was afraid. Really? You saw that from this man opening the door and you shooting him seconds later. So within seconds, you saw that this man had all this anger and emotion in his eyes within seconds. You saw that. Because me and him need to go to Vegas.
Right.
I'm telling you right now. Because if you can look at somebody's eyes and see all that, me and you need to be looking at the dealer and kicking me under the table. So that again, it's the narrative that's being crafted by everyone involved in this case. You know what I mean? This guy he was, and he answered the door. He was upset that law enforcement went at his door. Really? You knew that entire story from him opening the door and you shoot him second later. You knew that he was angry about law enforcement being at his door. You said, so again, it's this entire narrative around this case, and even more broadly when it comes to black folks and justice and the unlawful killing of black men by police in this country. It's the same story, the same narrative, and they're crafting it over and over again. And I hope that the jury doesn't fall for it, the public doesn't need to fall for it, and they need to be on this case.
I want to know the description we fit. For some reason, we always fit the description. What is the list? What is the things on the list that makes us fit the narrative of the description? What is it?
A large black male. 14-year-old Tamir Rice was a large black male.
I opened my eyes and they seen fear.
Yeah. They were terrified of 14-year-old Tamir Rice in a park with a BB gun, so afraid of this young
And
child
Skittles.
that they pulled up, instantly jumped out the car and killed him. So the narrative is always going to be whether
fear for their
Trayvon
life.
Martin is going to be, he's a large black male. He could be 4'2", but he's going to be a large black male. For some reason, the amount of melanin in our skin transforms us into large black giant males. You know what I mean? For some reason,
terrorist threat.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So no, that's what it is. It's the color of our skin that's going to make us larger and more dangerous and loom larger than life, depending on the story they want to tell.
And it goes back to my question: why do y'all fear us so much? What do you know about us that makes you fear us so much? You don't want to give us housing. We can't. You know, we have to stay in 10% of such and such.
If two of us or more are sitting at the table, a revolution is being planned.
Right. Oh, God.
Okay, well, I'm guilty of that. I'll plan a revolution on y'all in a second.
Real quick at this point.
Okay. HIV and AIDS. This is a topic that we don't talk about too much anymore. I don't know whether or not we have put our heads in the sand, but in Texas and nationwide, HIV and AIDS cases are rising. And sadly, it's hitting our community pretty heavy. We represent in Dallas, and we're talking about this case in Dallas. In Dallas, the cases are 43% Black, but they represent about 12% of the population, and this almost mirrors the statistics for the United States, to where 40% of the Blacks have AIDS, and they represent 12, 13, 14% of the population. So why are we still operating in this, or why is this epidemic still occurring, and what has been done to, or hasn't been done to minimize it? So you got a theory here?
It's a topic here.
A couple of things. So, and I'm gonna throw a bomb out there. No, but first, without me talking about my job, in the position I'm in, I work with a lot of, I have to solve a lot of issues resolving medication. So I could tell the rise because of the cases that I have to resolve. A lot of those cases resolve around PrEP medication. One of them, Descovy for PrEP, you know what I mean, is the most prominent one. But you could see the rise of this terrible virus, coming back in the number of cases that come across my desk that involve resolution with PrEP medications. So they are. It is a situation that is definitely on the rise in our community. So as far as the causes for it,
are we going down that rabbit hole?
Right.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
That's going to stem a spider. I'm going to create a spider from there.
What are the causes? There are certain things. I'll say, there are certain things in our community that are I believe, or maybe I'm naive, that are still very taboo within our community. I know that a lot of us are, in general, we come from a very religious, traditional community, and so there are a lot of things that are still kind of viewed taboo within the Black community. With that said, a lot of things that are happening in other communities where there's a lot of openness about certain issues, social issues, are not as open in our own community. And so a lot of discretion is practiced when it comes to certain lifestyles. And so because this discretion is prevalent,
really trying to be
nice about it, huh? He really is. Aw.
Y'all not gonna get me. Because there's a lot of discretion that's practiced within our community, activities take place that are not open. And so these activities that take place within our community, people will exercise whatever activity they want to exercise, and then go back to return to their community and return to their traditional lives. And a lot of times these activities take place and they're unprotected activities. And so we have this spread within our communities. And so the question is it because of the taboo within our community that a lot of activities that are more open in other communities are not in ours? And so we're unable to talk about it, we're unable to deal with it, we're unable to talk about protection. And so, I mean, I think those are a couple of...
And I have to agree with you. Now, my girl and I, we listen to a certain person. I'm not going to say her name, but there is a concern, and we need to start talking about these issues and being very open that it's not them. We are also part of them. We need to start having these discussions. Whether you're, I'm gonna say it. I'm going down
Just
the
go
rabbit
ahead.
hole.
Just do it.
Whether
just do
it's
it.
downloading. Whether we're going from one partner to the other, something is going on to cause these numbers to rise. Mm-hmm. And also, the other thing is access to medicine. Mm-hmm. I'll be watching these commercials on TV, and I don't know the medications, but it seems to me that do our people have access to those medications to minimize it? Right. You know, I think that I would love to speak to one person, and one person in particular, and that's Magic Johnson.
Oh,
you know, Magic Johnson. What has he done to be a spokesperson to talk against or talk about how to protect yourself against HIV? I remember when that was announced, I came out of my office, went to the break room to hear this announcement, and it blew my mind to find out that he's HIV positive. Right. How is he protecting his wife?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Is he still HIV positive today?
Well, he may not be because of all the money that he has, right. But we don't have that type of money.
Right, the average person doesn't have.
You know.
So they bring to the forefront the HIV issue, but they do not want to bring to the forefront that there is a cure for a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But because they practice medicine and the profit that it brings in, we want to slide it under the table. Oh, it's an HIV rise. It's a cure, but we're not going to say that.
So,
you know?
So I believe that, you know, I believe that Magic is probably cured. Mm-hmm. They probably did a major blood dump on him, you know, and, you know, he probably went through all of that because he has the money. But you know, the three of us, we don't have that type of money.
Not even combined.
We can't, we probably, in our stage of our life, we may find out later on that our insurance may not even cover that medication. Right. You know, by the time you find out that you have it. So I think that we need to be honest. We need to be honest that these issues are in our community. Mm-hmm. We can no longer keep our heads in the sand, pretending that it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And what are we going to do as a community to mitigate those issues?
No, so yeah, there's medications that can reduce your viral load enough so that the virus is no longer transmissible. So, and I think he has got his viral load all the way down to the point where was no longer transmissible. So that's the goal. So the medications that are out there now can reduce it to the point where it's no longer transmissible. And then, of course, like your PrEP medications, like Truvada and Descovy and a lot of the other PrEP medications, in addition to, it keeps it from being transmissible. And a lot of the PrEP medications. They do have medications that you take, you know, if you're on the PrEP medications, it keeps you from transmitting it. It also protects you from sexual activities the next morning. If you've come in contact with a person or have had unprotected sex with a person who is able to transmit it. So that's what a lot of the PrEP medications do. They are very, very, very expensive, extremely expensive. And so if you don't have really good insurance, and you know, you're going to come out of pocket. And so, again, it's a question about how insured we are as a community, how good our insurance is,
and the sacrifices that you may have to make to get better insurance. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't afford to buy. I'm not saying Louis Vuitton or every
Right.
month, you know,
Right.
or Jordans every month,
Right.
you know, because that what you spend every month could be used for the insurance.
And Obamacare is not going to pay the full price for true. These medications are thousands of thousands. These PrEP medications are thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month. You know what I mean? And so they do have what they call manufacturer copays and all kinds of stuff like that. But it helps to reduce the cost of the medication. But even with the manufacturer copays, even with your insurance, it's still expensive. You would definitely, these are medications for people with private insurance. PrEP medications are.
Well, self-preservation is the first law of nature, and again, we must protect us first. So if you're out there having whatever fun you're doing, protect yourself and others.
Amen.
Lesson learned.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and end our Hot Topic segment. We learned a lot from Mr. Alexander. He was very animated today. So we want to thank you again. Please leave comments, hit subscribe and the like button, and we will see you next week. But here at Contemporary Black Voices, we tell our stories our way.